I'm Tom Baker, this is Chasing Cars, and today you join me here at Mazda's Australian headquarters for one of the world's first looks at this, the brand new 2020 Mazda BT-50, which arrives onto the scene 60 years after this, the Mazda T600, a little 15 kilowatt utility that shows that Mazda have been at least interested in these commercial vehicles for a really long time. But of course, while the T600 is something of an ancestor to the new BT-50, under the skin, this new truck is very much a relation of the new Isuzu D-Max. The fact that the BT-50 now shares its underpinnings with the Isuzu D-Max is in itself a really big deal because, of course, the outgoing BT-50 was effectively based on a Ford Ranger, and that vehicle was developed out of what was once a very close partnership between Mazda and Ford. Now that no longer exists. Mazda is now a standalone company, so that gave them more choice of who to partner with in making the next BT-50. Why didn't they do it themselves? Well, this is a fairly low volume car. There's a lot of cost involved in developing one of these utes to work really well, and so basically when you have the luxury to go out there and choose a partner, I mean, that's a nice thing to do. And I think a lot of people watching this video will like the fact that the BT-50 is now a D-Max under the skin, because of course the D-Max really trades on a reputation for reliability and its truck engine here in Australia, and that engine remains the same here in this BT-50. A 3-litre turbocharged 4-cylinder diesel, now producing 140 kilowatts of power and 450 newton meters of torque. But while you can obviously tell from elements of the new BT-50 that there's shared underpinnings with the D-Max, I think this is one of the utes that's based on a platform sharing agreement that actually succeeds in looking really distinct outside. And obviously, most of that comes down to the nose here on the new BT-50. Now, here's something that probably won't shock you if you know your Mazdas. The same dude who designed this BT-50 was also responsible for the current CX-9, hence why the BT-50 looks much like Mazda's largest SUV here at the front, including the prominent chrome grille with wings extending out beneath the standard LED headlights. So, it does have that familiar resemblance to this Japanese brand's crossovers, and that is a good thing. Working our way further down the car, obviously when you're dealing with a platform sharing situation, you're going to have a lot of common elements in the doors, things like the door handles and the mirrors. But what Mazda have insisted upon is this unbroken line that extends right from the front fender down into the tray, which they see as a signature element of Kodo design. And they do say that Kodo design has now made its way to the BT-50, but in a more rugged Kodo form. And you can let me know down below this video whether you think the BT-50 is a better looking car than before, when I think you could tell that it was pretty much based on the Ranger. And I think this one actually presents quite smartly indeed in this new color called Gun Blue. There's also a new exclusive color called Concrete Gray, which will pop up on the screen now. What has also changed, and Mazda have put their stamp on in a big way, is the interior of this dual cab ute. Jumping up here into the BT-50, a couple of things are immediately obvious. The first is that the styling inside is a big break from the current car, and that's into a positive direction in my opinion. The second thing is that, yes, there are a lot of shared elements with the forthcoming D-Max in here, but just the same as how outside the styling is really quite different on the Mazda, there's also plenty of things in here that Mazda have changed, and if you compare side-by-side photos, those things become obvious straight away, but I'm also going to point them out to you. The first, and probably the most important for me, is the steering wheel. This is a Mazda steering wheel. It's got a Mazda hub, it's got Mazda leather running around the side, and so it just has that tactile connection to the rest of the range. Now, these side controls here, they actually look reasonably reminiscent of the outgoing car, actually, and they don't have a relation to any current Mazda, but at least the way the wheel feels in the hand is right, so that's good. Now, you do look forward at gauges that are taken from the Isuzu, and there's not much we can say about that other than that fact, but then your eyes come across here to the center of the dash, also to the Isuzu's touchscreen running their software, but it has one killer feature in that in a segment first, the new Mazda BT-50 will sport wireless Apple CarPlay, which is absolutely fantastic and a big leap for connectivity in this segment. Android Auto is also included, but that only works by way of a cable at this point in time. But apart from those shared features with the Isuzu and things like this switchgear down here, most of the rest of the cabin was up to Mazda. And that includes vents that are completely different, it includes a general dashboard treatment that's a little bit different, and also trim choices and colors. So starting up here on the dash, we actually have this really nice stitch pad that runs the breadth of the dash, so that feels and looks upmarket. We have a double glove box here, which works really nice and easily. As I mentioned, the vents and also this sort of metal-esque finishing are unique to the Mazda, as is this chestnut brown color on the seats. And that's a pretty good match for the color of leather that you get on things like the top spec CX-9, CX-5. So I feel like that also kind of brings the BT-50 back in with some similarities to ordinary Mazdas as well. And the seat itself is actually really cushy and comfy. It's got really like unexpectedly nice bolstering to it. The driver's side has electric adjustment with under thigh angle as well, which is not something you can take for granted in this segment. The passenger side is manual. Along with the good adjustment in the seat, we also now on the BT-50 have adjustment for reach and also for rake in the steering wheel, which actually puts the Mazda into a fairly unique club still among dual cabs. It's a pretty rare feature. It's also quite practical. We've got two big cup holders, a bin between the seats that is quite deep. We have a tray here ahead of the shifter, and we also have one USB socket in the old style and a 12-volt socket up front as well. So in terms of the dual cab segment, I actually think this feels like one of the best right off the bat in terms of how premium they've been able to make it look and feel. Next, we'll check out the second row. Here in the back, as dual cabs go, the new BT-50 is very impressive, and that's because Mazda don't appear to have left anything out. That starts with comfortable seats. The same nice upholstery continues here in the back, you'd expect that, but the seat itself is more shapely than you usually get in a dual cab. As you can see, my legs are actually supported by this squab, which is quite rare. And although in any vehicle like this, the back seats are fairly upright, it's not shocking here in the BT-50, and the seat itself is reasonably comfortable. Headroom as well is good for myself at 6 foot. Legroom behind my own driving position is pretty good, and tow room is absolutely fine. So it's more than spacious back here for another 3 adults in the back because the floor is pretty low for the center seat. But even if used as a family car, the new BT-50 is going to be quite impressive. To that end, we have easy to find ISOFIX points on both outboard seats, and we also have lots of little niceties that include air vents in the back, which is really great to see. We also have another USB port, old style USB port, taking the total for the car to 2. I think it could have been better, but it's better than 1. We also have a flip down armrest with 2 cup holders, so it's quite plush and nice back here. And we even have padding on the armrest and on the door, which is quite unusual indeed. There's also a hook on the back of the passenger seat, good for a bag or a coat. And then another handy feature, you can also lift up these back seats to create a bit of extra vertical space. So all in all, this is a very complete second row. Next, we'll have a look at the tray. Here around the back, I think that the new BT-50 is less instantly familiar as a Mazda, but still Mazda did insist on quite a few design changes compared to the D-Max. They include different tail light graphics and also a different pressing here on the gate with these character lines that come in much closer to those tail lights, quite different to the look of the Isuzu. We also have Mazda's new typeface, just a small change but meaningful nonetheless, plus a reversing camera integrated nice and high next to the handle. Now, opening that up, the gate itself isn't damped, so you do have to close it a little bit softly, but then it opens up to reveal the same sort of practical tray as you'll be getting on that new D-Max. This is a hard point that isn't changed on platform shared utes, including the new BT-50. So it's nice and long, nice and wide. We have 4 physical tie-down points in the tray as well, and the payload is still 1 ton for this vehicle. Now, you may notice that tray doesn't have a spray-in liner or anything like that. Mazda Australia are still finalising their genuine accessories for the BT-50. But they are going to have an extensive catalogue, including parts like canopies, sports bars, bed liners, to make this look a little bit less sort of, I suppose, empty. But this vehicle appears in quite a sort of pre-production sense with us today. So there is going to be plenty of kit that you can add right out of the box to the BT-50 when the vehicle launches in Australia later this year. And all those genuine accessories will be covered by the BT-50's 5-year unlimited kilometre warranty. On the safety front, the new BT-50 is going to take a massive leap over the outgoing car, and that's mainly a product of this feature up here. Even though it's kind of hard to see, the new BT-50 gets a stereo camera system which will equip the vehicle with things like adaptive cruise control and active lane keep assist, alongside other semi-autonomous technology, and that sort of thing is absolutely necessary now if you want to get a 5-star crash rating from ANCAP. Now, Isuzu have committed to having that technology standard across the range here in Australia, so it'll be interesting to see what Mazda do on that front. And also, while we're in this shot, this is the other exclusive colour to the new BT-50, concrete grey. So you can let me know down below the video whether you prefer this or that kind of dark bluey grey that we saw earlier. So that's a detailed first look at the new 2020 Mazda BT-50, now sharing underpinnings with the Isuzu D-Max. I think you'll agree with me, this is a pretty good looking utility, both in terms of its exterior design and also inside, where Mazda have clearly insisted on some higher quality finishes and a more upmarket design than what the BT-50 sported when this vehicle was based on the Ranger. Now, later this year, it'll launch into the Australian market and we'll be able to tell you much more about pricing and specifications, and of course, take the BT-50 for a drive both on and off-road. But for now, I want to know what you think about the new generation of Mazda BT-50. So let me know all your thoughts down in the comments. Have Mazda made the right move about the partnership? Should they have gone it alone? Do you wish they'd stuck with Ford on this vehicle? Let me know whatever is on your mind. While you're down there, make sure to hit subscribe and the notification bell. And as always, thanks for watching Chasing Cars.